Time for Mock Draft 3.0 here on the Ravens Rundown. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Coming up on today's show, I am going to run through my latest mock draft for the Baltimore Ravens and kind of how this works, just to give you perspective on it. We went through the simulator on Pro Football Focus. I manually adjusted the settings to make sure we got the most realistic mock draft we could give you, and not have the crazy shenanigans happen where somebody's available when they shouldn't be. So we want to give you the realest mock draft we could make here on the show. We'll bring that to you in just 1 second. Before we do, got to make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't subscribed to the Ravens Rundown, what are you waiting for? We're talking about the Baltimore Ravens each and every day with the latest news and rumors. We're talking trades, free agency. We're getting you ready for the draft. If you haven't subscribed already, you need to be. Does not cost you a thing. YouTube.com/RavensTV. You want more draft coverage? This is the channel for you. Subscribe now. YouTube.com/RavensTV. So we are going to simulate every pick for the Ravens. This is the first mock draft we've done since the first week of free agency concluded. So with that, some teams obviously are going to make changes to their draft strategy based on who they ended up signing. So before we get to the Ravens pick, here were the last five picks, leading up to this pick by Baltimore. Brian Branch goes 17 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. 18, the Lions go with Cansey, the defensive lineman from Pitt. Jones goes to the Bucks out of Georgia at 19. They get help on the O-line for Baker. 20, Brian Breesy goes to the Seattle Seahawks, the defensive lineman from Clemson. And then Deonte Banks, who's been talked a lot about for the Ravens, ends up going one spot ahead to the LA Chargers at 21. So that leaves us with the best available at this point, based on how the draft has played out to this point, for the Ravens at 22. Nolan Smith, who was the freak of the combine, right, with what he was able to do, edge rusher from Georgia. Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison are your two wideouts available at this point. Then you got Bijan Robinson still on the board from Texas. And then there's Will McDonald, the edge rusher from Iowa State, who, as a Big 12 fan, I'm so glad is out of the league now. With that said, with the 22nd pick in the NFL draft, the Ravens select Jordan Addison, wide receiver, Southern California. Yes, I differ from what Mel Kiper Jr. did earlier this week. Remember, Mel, with this pick, had the Ravens taking Zay Flowers. I personally like Jordan Addison a little bit better. So I go Addison here. Number 3 receiver, number 22 overall player on Mel's big board. Started his career at Pitt, playing alongside Kenny Pickett. You may have heard of him. Then transferred to USC this past year to pair up with Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley. Was a Biletnikoff Award winner, first-team All-American back when he was at Pittsburgh. A dynamic receiver Jordan Addison is, and I like that he can do it all. He can be a deep threat. He can be in the slot. He can be a possession receiver. He's a little bit of everything. You look at the statistics of what Jordan Addison has done in his career. Last year was a little bit of a down year of sorts there at USC, but remember, there was all sorts of other weapons that Caleb Williams had there with USC, as opposed to when he was at Pitt. When he was the guy, he had nearly 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns. That was insane. Last year, still a really good year, close to 15 yards per reception compared to 16 yards the year prior. So similar number there. 8 touchdowns, 875 yards in 59 receptions in 11 games played. Jordan Addison is that guy, not to mention the connections to the state of Maryland. This would be a homecoming of sorts for Jordan Addison. I love this idea of bringing Jordan Addison to the Baltimore Ravens. That's the pick I would make in this situation. Should the Ravens draft Jordan Addison? This is our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Y for yes, in for no. Should the Ravens select Jordan Addison or not? Let me know in the comments section. So now we skip ahead to the third round. Remember, the Ravens don't have a second-round pick. And in the third round, pick 86, we fill a need at corner. That's where we find Tre'Vius Hodges-Tomlinson with this selection at 86 overall. Hodges-Tomlinson won the Thorpe Award And remember last year, Kobe Bryant, who's now with the Seahawks and was at Cincinnati, he won the Thorpe Award and slipped all the way to the 4th round. Seahawks are glad they got him, by the way, although much of the attention's been made about Tariq Woolen. This could be a similar circumstance here. Think about all the corners that we've talked about in this draft, whether it's Witherspoon or Gonzalez or Joey Porter Jr. and all that. And somehow Hodges-Tomlinson has slipped up between those. Now, granted, he's a little bit shorter. He's like 5'9", but he was a first-team All-American, 3-time first-team All-Big 12, playing it against those dynamic Big 12 offenses too, and yet he was still able to put up the numbers that he did and was that good a receiver. I don't care if he's a little bit undersized. I think this is a sneaky good find in the 3rd round. Now we go to the 4th round. That is where we go to Clemson and take edge rusher. We get KJ Henry in the 4th round from Clemson. PFF had him as an All-American, 3rd-teamer last year. He was 2nd-team All-ACC. And one of the things I think when you're the Baltimore Ravens that you have to look at, that you have to evaluate of some sorts with this team, maybe more so than other teams, is durability. Are you going to be there when it matters? Are you going to be available when this team needs you? Because the Ravens the last 2 seasons have been, I think, the most unlucky team when it comes to the injury front of any team in the NFL. And good news on KJ Henry, you talk about reliability. He played 58 games in his career at Clemson. That was the most ever by a defensive end. That's a lot of football. That means he was available a lot. So a guy that you can count on that's played at a high level here, fills a need, the edge rusher spot. I like the possibility of KJ Henry here. Name a player the Ravens should draft. I know that we got a few names that we're discussing here, but who else comes to mind? Who would you like to see the Ravens pick up and add to this team in 2023? Let us know who you'd like to see Eric DeCosta pick up in the comment section below. Folks, you got to get one of these Ravens jerseys. If you want to rock out with your flock out, I got you covered. You can get them all at chatsports.com/Ravens jersey, whether it's the purple, maybe it's even the gold, maybe it's the black uniforms. Maybe you want to represent Mark Andrews or Lamar, or maybe you want to throw it back to Ray Lewis. Maybe you want to go with a current guy like Marcus Williams. Any of those options that I just mentioned, we have you covered on all of them. You can get yours today. Chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. That's chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. Get yours now while supplies last. You'll be glad you did. All right, let's get to the final couple picks here for the Ravens. This is where we find Keaton Mitchell, a 5th-round pick for the Ravens at 157 overall from East Carolina. By the way, I love the East Carolina Pirate logo. I mean, that just looks badass. With that said, Keaton Mitchell, if you don't know much about him, it's okay. Keaton Mitchell could be a sneaky good find for the Ravens. I know that they're already bringing back, a number of players this year with at that running back position with J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. All those guys are coming back. But hear me out on this. There could still be a spot for Keaton Mitchell and might work his way into the rotation. Remember, the Ravens have had quite a few injuries at the running back spot. So they need more options potentially. With that said, here's the scouting report from Lance Erline. He mashes the gas pedal. Don't you like hearing that? And gets to top speed quickly. He can outflank defenses and chalk up a long run if defenses aren't ready for him. However, he needs a clear point of entry inside and isn't built to withstand the punishment that goes along with interior running in the NFL. So I'm not asking him to be my every down back. That's okay. But if he can come in and relieve some of these guys and be a rotational back, that's fine with me. So I am more than happy with taking Keaton Mitchell in the 5th round and being another piece in that backfield for this Baltimore Ravens team. Next up, our final pick. The Ravens don't have a 7th-round pick. They do have a 6th-round pick, however. And we fill a need at the offensive tackle spot. That is where we find, with the 199th selection overall, Asim Richards in the 6th round. Now, here's an interesting note, too. Pro Football Focus, in their player rankings, has Richards as their 199 player. And we got him with the 199th pick. So we didn't overdraft anybody, for the record. With that said, here's Lance Erline's breakdown of Richards. Pass protection concerns will be diminished with a move inside. But there will be work needed when it comes to getting his feet in position to slow interior rushers. Richard's drive, blocking, potential position, versatility, give him a shot at a backup role with upside. And that's what we're looking for. The Ravens, for the most part, have their offensive line figured out, but they need some more pieces to back guys up. We've seen Ronnie Stanley deal with his fair share of injuries over the last few years. Even Tyler Linderbaum, who we're all pretty high on, what he brings to the table as a center and what he's going to do in this league, even he's had a few injuries here and there. You look at that offensive line, you have to have multiple options. Richards could be a guy that you move around that could be a rotational piece, could be a good backup. I like the idea of Richards there. So to recap, 5 picks, but we made the most of our 5 picks for the Ravens. We went Addison with our first pick in the first round, wide receiver from USC. Third round, we went with Hodges-Tomlinson, the corner from TCU. We went KJ Henry with our pick at 124, the edge rusher from Clemson. We went running back with Keaton Mitchell from East Carolina in the 5th round. And then we wrapped up at the offensive line going with Richards, the offensive tackle from North Carolina. So, how did I do? What do you think of this Ravens mock draft that we just brought you? Grade it for me in the comments section. A, B, C, D, or F. If you loved it, give me that A. Tell me why you loved it. If you hated it, that's fine too. Won't hold it against you. Type F in the comments. Let me know, A, B, C, D, or F, how you would grade the mock draft for your Baltimore Ravens. No trades this time. Didn't get any trade offers, but nonetheless, that's what we're dealt. Let me know what you think in the comments section. As always, you can act with me on social media and tell me if you think I'm an idiot with my mock draft. That's okay. If you loved it, that's fine too. Let me know on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there, and I'll see you next time right here on the Ravens Rundown.